Hello dear viewers, welcome to another video tutorial of this YouTube channel. In today's tutorial review, we are going to be focusing on the 2024 ECZ examination for General Certificate of Education Ordinary Level Additional Mathematics, and the question that we're interested in today's tutorial, it is coming from paper 2. So the question itself, it is question number 12 and it falls under E functions. So we are now trying to check where the question is located in this paper. Let's try to check where the question is located. So let's try to check where the question is located. It is question number 12 and it falls under E functions. Okay, so this is the main concern in today's tutorial. This is our focus. It is question number 12 and here it is. So question number 12 has three parts. It has part A, part B and part C. So in total the question, it carries 10 marks. In total the question carries 10 marks. So let's try to go through each and every part of this question. So we're starting with part A. Part A states that sketch the graph of the function y is equal to e to the 2x for the domain x is greater than or equal to -1 and x is less than or equal to +2. So that is the first part of this question. Let's go to the second part of this question, which is part B. Part B states that given that y is equal to 2x e to the -3x, show that d2y dx squared plus 6 dy dx plus 9y is equal to 0. So that is the second part of this question. Let's go to the third part of this question, which is part C. Part C states that find the equation of a straight line which must be drawn on the graph of y is equal to x over e to the x to obtain the solution of the equation 5x plus x e to the x, and that is equal to 4 e to the x. So that is the whole question. We have gone through the whole question, and before we get into the solving, I would advise you to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you are updated with each and every video tutorial when it is uploaded on this YouTube channel, and you can further turn on the notification button so that you're notified when each and every video tutorial is uploaded on this YouTube channel. And also don't forget to share so that others can enjoy the tutorials of additional mathematics, and also don't forget to comment so that you can hear out your views. And last not the least, you can like this video by giving it a thumbs up. So now let's quickly go into the solving. So we are starting with part A. We are starting our solving with part A. So what we're going to do is that we're going to write the equation that we're given. So we're given the equation as y is equal to e to the 2x. That is the equation that we're given. So they want us to sketch the graph of the function y is equal to e to the 2x. So we are starting by writing that equation that we have there in the statement. So after writing that one, we're going to write the domain that we're given. X is less than or equal to +2 and x is greater than or equal to -1. So that is how it is. So now let's try to do something. So we're going to write x and y, and then we do something like that. In the domain, we are given that x should be greater than or equal to -1. X should be greater than or equal to -1. So since x can be equal to -1, we're going to start from -1. That is our first x coordinate. So how do we find the y coordinate? The y coordinate can be found by using that same equation that we're given, which is y is equal to e to the 2x. So we're going to write that same equation. So we're going to say y is equal to e to the 2, and then where there is x, we're going to be replacing with the coordinate that we have. So in such a case, the first coordinate that we have, the x coordinate that we have, it is -1. So where there is x, we're going to replace with -1, and then we're going to multiply. We're going to do the calculations and simplification. So when you multiply 2 multiplied by -1, it will give you the value of -2, and e to the -2 is equal to 0.135335283, like that. So there we're going to simply write 0.14, and then let's go to the next coordinate that we have. The next coordinate can be determined by using the interval, by using a suitable interval. So in our case, according to this video tutorial, we chose an interval of +1. So we chose an interval of +1. So if you want, you can choose any interval. It can be 0.2, it can be 0.5, or it can be any interval, but it should at least be less than or equal to 1. So it depends with the domain that you are given. That's first check the domain that you are given, and then you can determine the suitable interval that you would like. So in this video tutorial, we chose an interval of +1. So on the x coordinate, we're going to have an interval of 1. So we're going to be simply adding 1. So in such a case, we're going to do -1 plus 1, -1 plus 1, it will give you the value of 0. So we're going to deal with this one just as we did with the first one. So we're simply going to write the equation just as we wrote it in the first part. So it will be y is equal to 2. Again, it is y is equal to e to the 2x. Again, where there is x, we're going to replace 0. We're going to replace 0. Where there is x, we replace 0, and it will be 2 multiplied by 0, it will give you the value of 0, and e to the 0, it is +1. It is +1. So that is our y coordinate. Our y coordinate is equal to +1. So there we're going to write +1, and then let's go to the third one. So the third one, again, we're going to determine the x coordinate by adding an interval that we have. So we have +1, so we're going to say 0 plus 1, it will give you the value of 1. So there we're going to write 1, and then again, where there is x, we're going to replace +1. Again, when you do the calculations, it will give you the value, which is 7.389056,099, like that. So there we're going to simply write 7.39. And then let's go to the next one. The next one we have to add again. So we're going to say 1 plus 1 plus 1, it will give you the value of 2. 1 plus 1, it will give you the value of 2. So there again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the y coordinate by simply replacing where there is x with 2. Again, we say e to the 4, and it will give you the value of 54.59815003, like that. So there we're simply going to write 54.6. So we are done. We have found the coordinates. We have found the x and the y coordinates. So now, why are we ending on +2? The reason why we're ending on +2, it is simply because when we consider the domain, it clearly states that x should be less than or equal to +2. So meaning that x should not exceed +2. So for that reason, we're going to end on +2. So it should not exceed +2 according to the domain. We're given that x is less than or equal to +2. That's what we're given. So those are the coordinates. We have found the x and y coordinates. So the next thing that we're going to consider is to draw the x and the y axis. So we are drawing the y axis like that, and then we are drawing the x axis like that. So that is our y-axis and that is our x-axis. So the next thing that we're going to consider is that we're going to consider the interval that is going to be at the x and the y-axis. So we're simply going to say two boxes to represent 1 unit. So two boxes on that graph are going to represent 1 unit. And then what about on the y-axis? So on the y-axis, we are simply going to check the units that were given. So we have 0.14, we have 1, we have 7.39, and we have 54.6. When you check carefully, you are going to find that you can't get an interval whereby you say one box to represent 1 unit. That is not going to be possible according to the graph that you're given in your exam, because boxes are not going to exceed 54 or are not going to go as far as 54. So what I can advise you is that you should choose an interval that is going to suit your graph. So according to this video tutorial, we chose an interval of 10. So we're going to say one box on the y-axis represents 10 units. So one box represents 10 units, like that. So what two boxes are we talking about? In case you're wondering where the two boxes are coming from, so those are the two boxes that we're talking about. So after you complete two boxes, just know that that's when you're going to have 1 unit. So 1 is there and 2 is supposed to be there, and there it is supposed to be -1. And then on the y-axis, we say that one box to represent 10 units, so it will be 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, like that. And there it will be -10. So that is how it is. And then let's go to the plotting. The next step that we're going to take is that we're starting to plot. So we're starting with -1, 0.14. So our x coordinate, it is -1, and then our y coordinate is 0.14. So now, where is that point located? So that point, it is located somewhere there. And then the next coordinate that we have, it is 0,1. The next coordinate, it is 0,1. Now where is 0,1 located? So 0,1 is located somewhere there. And then what about 1,7.39? So 1,7.39 is located somewhere there. And then the next thing that we're going to consider, it is 2,54.6. So 2,54.6 is located somewhere there. The next thing that we are going to consider is to join the points by drawing, or you can say by sketching using a pencil. You can use a pencil to sketch the graph itself. That's how it is. So that is how it is supposed to be. This is how you sketch the graph. So you even say there that is the graph of y is equal to e to the 2x. So this is the graph itself. This is the graph. So this is how you're supposed to answer such questions. This is how you score marks for such questions. Okay, so now let's go to another part of this question, which is part B. Part B states that given that y is equal to 2x e to the -3x, show that d2y dx squared plus 6 dy dx plus 9y is equal to 0. So what is the first thing that we're going to do? The first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to consider the equation that we're given. So we're given that the equation is y is equal to 2x e to the -3x. And then what is the next thing that you have to do? You have to consider, so we have to show that it is the 2y dx squared plus 6 dy dx plus 9y is equal to 0. So now one thing that you have to do is that you have to get an expression for the 2y dx squared and also an expression for dy dx. So we have to get those, and then we can replace in that expression that we're given. So we have to check the equation that we are given. So in such a case, this equation, it is that of the product rule. This equation, it is that of product rule. So what we have to do is that we're going to let 2x be f, and then we're going to let e to the negative 3x be g. So those two have separate variables. So if they have separate variables, it's either it is going to be the quotient rule or the product rule, but in such a case it is the product rule because there is no division there. So we're going to consider this one as the product rule. So now the product, if you're dealing with the product rule, you have to say f prime dy dx is equal to f prime g plus g prime f. So now what do they mean when they say f prime or g prime? So the prime symbol, it is that one which is looking like an apostrophe. It is looking like an apostrophe. So what they mean when they say f prime or g prime is that you have to differentiate with respect to x. You have to say d dx. That's one thing that you need to keep in mind. So where there is f prime, it means that you have to differentiate that one which is 2x. And then where there is g prime, you have to differentiate that one which is e to the negative 3x. So when you start with f prime, so it means that you have to differentiate 2x. And when you differentiate 2x, it will give you the value of 2. And then what about the g? What are we going to do with that one? With the first expression, g has no prime, so it means that we have to get that same expression which is e to the negative 3x. And then after you do that, you have to consider the addition. You have to say plus. And then you also have to consider, again, you have to consider the g prime. G prime, which one is our g? It is g, it is e to the negative 3x. So now, how do we differentiate such expressions? So the way we differentiate such expressions is that we have to say u prime e u. So now, which one is our u? The one which is our u, it is negative 3x. So negative 3x, it is our u. So in such a case, if you are differentiating that expression which is e to the negative 3x, we have to say u prime. So in such a case, we are differentiating the power. In such a case, the power, it is negative 3x. When you differentiate negative 3x, it will give you the value of negative 3. So that is where the negative 3 is coming from. And then what about our e? Our e is going to maintain like that. And then we also have the u. The u is also going to maintain like that. So this is how we differentiate expressions which are related to e functions. So remember we said g prime, so we have differentiated the we have differentiated g. In such a case, our g, it is e to the negative 3x, and it has given us negative 3 e to the negative 3x. And then after you do that, you have to consider f. Remember, it is g prime f. So our f, it is 2x. So we're going to consider that. So that's where those things are coming from. And then after you do that, you have to get the calculations and the simplifications. So the first part is going to maintain like 2 e to the negative 3x, and then it is going to be a minus, simply because when you say plus, or when you say positive times negative, it will give you negative. So in such a case, that's where the negative is coming from. And then when you say 3 e to the negative 3x times 2, it will give you 6. So simply because it will give you 6x e to the negative 3x. That's our expression for dy dx. Now let's go to another expression for d2y dx squared. That's our next objective. So d2y dx squared is So what they mean when they say d2y dx squared is that you have to differentiate dy dx. So in such a case, our dy dx is equal to 2e to the negative 3x minus 6x e to the negative 3x. So we have to differentiate that expression. How are we going to differentiate that expression? So you have to consider again, you have to consider that we said that it is u prime and then e to the u. So in such a case, what is going to happen is that we have to differentiate that one, which is our u. In such a case, our u, it is negative 3x. And what is going to happen is that when you differentiate negative 3x, is that you are going to multiply it with a 2. So you're going to say 2 open brackets negative 3 and then close brackets. And it is going to be e to the negative 3x again, like that. And then again, when you consider that one, what are you supposed to do? So when you consider that one, you have to check, you're going to see that that is the product rule. That is the product rule. So what you're supposed to do is that you have to follow the product rule to simplify that one. So just as we did earlier, we're going to say let 6x be f and then e to the negative 3x be g. So in such a case, this one, it is the product rule. So we're going to consider the product rule to work out this one. So we have 6x e to the negative 3x. So in such a case, it is going to be f prime g plus g prime f, just as we did earlier with So our f prime, it means that we have to differentiate the f. We have to differentiate f, and then in such a case, our f, it is 6x. When you differentiate 6x, it will give you the value of 6. And then g is going to maintain like that. We're going to get it like that. We're going to get e to the negative 3x, and then plus. The plus is going to maintain like that, and then we're going to say g prime. So g prime, with the g prime, we have to consider that one for. So with the g prime, you have to know that that one is dealing with if functions, and if you are dealing with if functions, the way we differentiate that one, we have to consider u prime e to the u. So it is going to be like that. So when you differentiate it, it is going to be negative 3. So we said that we have to differentiate our u. Our u in such a case, it is negative 3x. So when you differentiate 3x, it will be negative. So when you differentiate negative 3x, it will give you negative 3. And then what about our e? Our e is going to be, our e and our u is going to maintain like that. So in such a case, it will be e to the negative 3x. And then what about our f? Our f is going to maintain like that. Our f, it is simply 6x. So it is going to maintain like that. So we're going to say d2y dx squared is equal to, so when you consider the simplification of 2 open brackets negative 3 close brackets e to the negative 3x, it will give you the value of negative 6 e to the negative 3x. And then you are going to say minus and then consider those. So when you consider those, it will give you 6e to the negative 3x, and then we're going to say minus. So positive times negative, it will give you the value, it will give you negative. So in such a case, that's where the minus is coming from. So when you say 3 times 6x, it will give you 18x. And then the e is going to maintain like that. It will be e to the negative 3x. And then the next thing again, you have to simplify further. So when you simplify further, it is going to be negative 6e to the negative 3x minus e minus 6e to the negative 3x. And then you're going to say negative times negative, it will give you positive. So that's where the plus is coming from. So it will be plus 18x e to the negative 3x. And then the next thing, you're also going to simplify further. So in such a case, it will be 6 negative 6 e to the negative 3x minus 6 e to the negative 3x. It gives you the value of negative 12 e to the negative 3x. And then what about that one on the right hand side? It will give you 18 x e to the negative 3x. So that is our d2y dx squared. That is our expression for d2y dx squared. So we have found the expression for dy dx and d2y dx squared. So the next thing that we are remaining with, it is just to simply replace. You just need to simply replace. So we are told that the expression is like d2y dx squared plus 6 dy dx plus 9y is equal to 0. So the next thing that you are going to do is that you just need to simply substitute d2y dx squared and dy dx with what you found. So in such a case, d2y dx squared, we found it as negative 12 e to the negative 3x plus 18x e to the negative 3x. So we are going to replace that. So we're going to replace that. And then we're going to say 6 again, our dy dx. We already found our dy dx, so we're going to replace dy dx with what we found. So we found dy dx, we already found it, so we're going to write it there again, plus 9. So 9y, it is plus 9y. So we're already given our y we're already given our y, so we don't need to worry. We're given our y as y is equal to 2x e to the negative 3x. So they are telling us that that must equal to 0. So that must equal to 0. So when you consider the calculations and the simplifications, it will give you negative 12 e to the negative 3x plus 18x e to the negative 3x plus 12 e to the negative 3x minus 36 x e to the negative 3x plus 18x e to the negative 3x, and that is equal to 0. So that must equal to 0. So we're going to check if that is equal to 0. So we have those which are like, so we have those which can cancel out easily. So we have negative 12 e to the negative 3x, and then we also have positive 12 e to the negative 3x. So when you say negative 12 e to the negative 3x plus 12 e to the negative 3x, it will give you the value of 0. So we're going to simply eliminate those. And then what about 18x e to the negative 3x and 18x e to the negative 3x? What we can simply do is that we're going to add those, and it will give us the value of 36. 36x e to the negative 3x. We also have another one which is negative 36x e to the negative 3x. So we're going to also write that one. That is equal to 0. So when you say 36x e to the negative 3x minus 36x e to the negative 3x, that is actually 0. That is equal to 0. So you can easily say that hence shown. So this is how you easily score marks in an exam room. This is how you're supposed to answer such questions. This is how you're supposed to score marks. I hope you are clear. So let's now go to the next part of this question, which is part C. So part C is stating that find the equation of a straight line which must be drawn on the graph of y is equal to x over e to the x to obtain the solution of the equation 5x plus x e to the x, and that is equal to 4 e to the x. So what we're going to do is that we're going to write the first equation that we're given. We're given the first equation as y is equal to x over e to the x. And then we're also going to write the second equation that we have. The second equation is 5x plus x e to the x, and that is equal to 4e to the x. So now when you check, when you check carefully, in the first equation that we have e to the x, and even in the second equation we have e to the x. So what can we do? What can we do so that we get rid of e to the x in the first equation? We have to get rid of e to the x in the first equation so that we get the equation of a straight line. So how are we going to get rid of that? Let's get to the solving. So with the second equation, which is 5x plus x e to the x is equal to 4e to the x, what we are going to do is that we have to make e to the x the subject. How is it going to be made the subject? So it will be 4e to the x and x e to the x, and we are going to say that is equal to 5x, like that. So that is how it is. And then the next thing that we're going to do is that since we have those terms, those terms are like terms, what we're going to do is that we are going to consider, so those terms have something in common. Those terms have something in common, and so that's something which is in common, it is e to the x. So we're going to make e to the x the subject. So we're going to factorize. We're going to factorize those, and it is simply going to be e to the x, open brackets, 4 minus x, and close brackets, and that is equal to 5x. So remember our main motive behind this one, it is to make e to the x the subject. So we're going to make e to the x the subject. So we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 4 minus x. So when you divide 4 minus x on the left hand side, it will simply give you the value of 1. So those two are going to cancel out. Those two are going to simply cancel out like that. And when they cancel out, it is simply going to be e to the x is equal to 5x over 4 minus x. What is the next step after you do this? The next step that you're going to do is that we're going to write the first equation that we have. The first equation, it is y is equal to e to the x. And then the next thing that we have to do is that we have to replace wherever there is e to the x, we're going to replace with 5x over 4 minus x. So it will be like that. So we have x over 5x over 4 minus x. So you need to understand this one, that when there is an over sign, it simply means division. So it will be x divided by 5x over 4 minus x. And then according to the rules of division of fractions, if you want to easily divide fractions, what you have to do is that you have to change the sign to multiplication. And then after you change the sign to multiplication, the next thing that you have to consider is that the numerator and the denominator needs to swap. So the numerator will go down and the denominator will go up. So it will be something like that. So it will be 4 minus x over 5x. So that is our y. And then when you check carefully, we have x as our numerator and we also have x as our denominator. So what we can do is that we can simply cancel out those two, because when you say x divided by x, it will simply give you the value of 1. So those two can cancel each other. So we are simply going to remain with 4 y is equal to 4 minus x over 5. If you are making an equation of a straight line, it is advisable that you make y the subject. You need to make y the subject. So we are simply doing that. So it will be something like that. So the y on the left hand side, the 5 on the left hand side, it will simply cancel out, and there we're simply going to have 1 over 5 open brackets 4 minus x close brackets. So that is our equation. So you have to say therefore equation is, so the equation of the straight line that they wanted, so therefore the equation is y is equal to 1 over 5 close brackets 4 minus x close brackets. So this is how you're supposed to score marks in an exam room. This is how you're supposed to score marks in an exam room. I hope you're clear. If you're not clear at any point, feel free to drop the question in the comment section. So I hope you haven't forgotten to subscribe, to like, to share, and to comment. Thank you for watching. See you to another video tutorial.